world around us. This one really had my brain just spinning and the kind of uh, in the kind of way as to where I just couldn't stop thinking about it. So I really had to talk about it. As you can see, I am outside downtown in the city where I work, and I just wanted to get this out there. I feel like lately I've been seeing a trend in how people interact, which is starting to become very concerning. Mainly, I notice it in two areas. One, the internet, obviously. That one's, I think, obvious to everyone. But another place I notice it is with the next generation, those who are under 18 or around 18, those who are newly college aged. So I'll comment on each of which, and then I'll talk about why I think it's happened. First of all, the internet. Keyboard courage is way, way beyond what it was 10 years ago. Of course, it hardly existed 10 years ago compared to what it is now. But I feel like, just in general, on the internet, there's a lot more assholes out there. And I don't just mean trolls or people who intentionally insult people. I also mean just people who don't know how to have a decent discussion with someone else about a topic that is not, I mean, often not even in need of argument. It just very, very, very often resorts to name-calling. And that's a complete anomaly, because in the world we live in, the real world outside the internet, I feel like people are constantly walking on eggshells. So it's very strange that the internet has this. And mainly, I feel like it's getting worse, not just in the area of insulting people. I feel like it's also getting worse in regards to how people can present a sensible argument, use logic, as well as empathize. I feel like empathy is at an all-time low on the internet. Not just in the regard of, if I say this, it'll make you feel bad, and I don't, I wouldn't want to be spoken to this way. Ultimately, one of the Christian golden rules, treat those as you like to be treated, does not exist on the internet. And I'll get to that anomaly after covering this next base. The next generation, as I mentioned earlier, this next generation, I feel like, it's so weird. Like, when I see kids interact with each other, it's so weird. It seems like they're more careful with each other, but when it comes to them interacting with adults, there's like no respect. There isn't really a respect for authority, because I think this is the first generation without spanking. I think so. I'm just south of 30. I'm gonna be 30 this year, and I feel like my generation, the people born in the 80s generation, was like the last vestige of some like actual parenting. Maybe that might be a stretch. I'm sure maybe a lot of 90s kids out there had that as well, but I feel like kids are overprotected nowadays. So what they've developed is a lack of fear for authority, which might be also why there are so many young protesters who often resort to doing terrible things like throwing piss on people or vandalizing. That red light, by the way, is my phone saying very bad connection, which doesn't make sense. But Uh, yeah, I feel like mainly that uh, there's a huge lack of respect uh, for elder generations, yet still uh, like being overly careful with each other regarding discussion of like really important topics in person. I feel like discomfort is at an all-time high when it comes to like talking about important things. And yeah, I'll say it. I work with kids sometimes. I with what I do that uh, we will teach kids sometimes for the skills I do with the programs that are at my work. And before being able to do this, I had to go through a very long, 3-hour long course on how to interact with kids, and it literally was like, don't talk about this, that, because you don't want them being uncomfortable. That is the highest level of concern, is no discomfort for kids. So why do I think this happened? Many reasons, I think, but one of which I think this very high level of comfort for this generation, which is now reaching adulthood, has brought us is people who want that comfort always. And the danger of that is you never challenge each other on ideas, and you never strive for improvement in not only your opinion but yourself. And there is this idea that is being concocted in people's heads that they are always right and always on the right team, and they could do no wrong. And I think those two problems I talked about, people on the internet not knowing how to talk to each other and kids having no respect for authority, kind of go hand in hand. I think people are arguing on the internet so much because they can't argue in person, so they find an anonymous avatar to hide behind and try and present their ideas, but they've never been challenged in person. They don't know what it's like to actually argue, so they resort to name calling. Why else do I think this happened? I think something that is terribly wrong with the newest, well, by far the most consumed form of entertainment, being phones and internet, is that there's nothing really filtering these forms of entertainment for kids. There's too many parents out there just letting them go ham on the internet. And then, of course, there's the very serious issue of like kids getting porn, which used to have to find an adult to give some extra cash to get you a magazine, or try and steal a magazine or a tape. But now with the internet having it just there for you, have a bunch of horny little 13-year-old boys searching up stuff on the internet. And I grew up with dial-up connection, and if you wanted to even do that, it would be like a minute of loading an image versus what kids can easily get nowadays. But what I think is another issue that perhaps is less talked about is the stuff kids are consuming is crap. Like this whole Logan Paul thing, I can't believe how many kids out there defended Logan Paul. There were a lot of people like, oh, he didn't mean to do it, and you know, it was just a prank, it's just a prank. That's the stupidest thing that is all over the internet, is these stupid prank videos. And in Jackass back then, they never messed with people. If it were something stupid like Steve-O running through a store in a thong, not not saying racist remarks to people in the hood, or just like at a park where there's some people who look like they could be gangsters at, or literally like touching people and like talking to people and sexually harassing people. Like, that's the norm for kids. And me growing up, I was watching like Captain Planet and learning about and the dangers of environmental pollution, and Magic School Bus, and learning about science, and Bill Nye the Science Guy, and I guess more importantly, on a maybe more mature level, talk shows. Like, talk shows nowadays, who are the guests? Okay, well, I'll start with back then. Talk shows back then, the guests were like, here's Steve Irwin to talk about crocodiles and how awesome they are. Or here is this person from this organization which is doing great work all across the world. Or even Oprah, when she was on back in her Chicago studio days. Like, here is this compelling story about this person who survived cancer. But now, talk shows, it's, here's Ellen, you know, having the same celebrity guest on. Here's Mario Lopez taking his shirt off. And that's what's like, that's what kids are consuming nowadays. And there isn't really, I'm starting to shiver, it's cold. It's like, it's winter, so I'm starting to shiver. But like, what are kids consuming nowadays? Like, there's nothing like educational, and like, even kids TV isn't, in the United States at least, isn't very good. Like, I'm trying to think. I have nephews. I'm trying to think what they watch that is actually healthy for them, and it just, like, more entertainment than substance. And it's not good. It's getting worse. And excuse me, I burped there on camera. Doing it again. Must be full. But I think we, as a culture and a society, need to really be careful and be attentive to our next generation. We need to start building a foundation now for our kids. And if you're a parent, I implore everyone to not give them like a computer, and if they have like a computer for school, like, not let them really use it unsupervised. Yeah, of course, those ones, they have blockers on certain websites, which I hope, but like, it bothers me deeply that there are like kids who are like, well, I'll just say 8 years old as an estimate, who have like smartphones. It's like, you don't need that. I implore you all to, like, if your kid needs a cell phone, make it a dumb phone. Like, if you're around my age, you know that iPhones didn't exist till you were in college. So you know you made it this far without it. Your kids can make it just as far as you did without that. And if they get bored or whatever, that's gonna make them stronger and make them more. Yeah, I'm getting a phone call. It's my wife. I'm gonna call her back. So I can wrap it up here. I shouldn't leave her hanging. She's probably worried about me. I got off work like 15 minutes ago. But I just mean, like, it's a lot of the shittiness of this current generation is thanks to people just being constantly bombarded with entertainment, and that is building complacency, and constantly protected by overprotective parents, and in general an overprotective society of classes, and not just classes but just people in general. And it boils down to the individual. I think we need to teach our kids that they need to be honest about their views and not hide their views, and talk to us and talk to kids and talk to their teachers and their parents and follow up with them, like, what do you think, what does your teacher think, here's what I think. You have to be active in this world to make it better. And I think if you're a producer out there, really push for good content that's going to make this world a better place. And yeah, I wish it were in the 90s, man, again, because that was like the apex of entertainment, educational entertainment, I guess. There's a lot out there, but there's no like one place for it anymore. It's all like the internet. And if you have the internet, where are you gonna go? If you have a thing that can give you any piece of entertainment, where are you gonna go? You're gonna go to watch like PBS.com, or you're gonna go to look up porn or whatever as like a 13-year-old boy. Well, testosterone is a real strong thing, and it's something they also need to deal with if you have boys. That's a conversation that has to be had. If you're a girl, I don't know what the equivalent is, but feelings are important to be discussed. Wow, random rant there. I know it's kind of all over the place, but I am really concerned about just how shitty it's getting in terms of connectability and openness, and just young individuals who think they know everything when it is very, very far from it, and they aren't willing to have the conversations in person, just the stupid online keyboard courage shit. Anyways, that's it for me on this one. If you listen to this one, awesome. Thanks for spot me a like, and if you haven't yet, subscribe.